Ifunanya sat in the back seat of the black Range Rover, staring out at the busy streets of Lekki. Traffic moved sluggishly, but her mind was elsewhere. 6 years. 6 years of marriage. 6 years of waiting. 6 years of praying, yet her womb remained empty. Her husband, Chief Obinna Okafor, was one of the richest men in Lagos, a billionaire whose businesses spread across the country, properties in Ikoyi and Victoria Island, and political connections that ensured he got what he wanted. To the world, he was successful, respectable. To her, he was becoming a stranger. They had everything: private jets, designer clothes, luxury vacations, but the one thing that mattered to his family was missing: children, or rather, the lack of them. She exhaled as the car pulled up in front of their mansion, already bracing herself for what was waiting for her inside. The moment she stepped into the house, her mother-in-law's sharp voice cut through the air. "She's back!" Mama Obinna shouted, adjusting the wrapper around her waist as she turned toward Ifunanya, her eyes darting straight to Ifunanya's stomach, disappointment flashing across her face. "Madam, where are the children? Did you bring them back from wherever you went?" Ifunanya closed her eyes for the second. "Not today." "Good evening, Mama," she said, keeping her voice calm. "Don't greet me," Mama Obinna snapped, clapping her hands together in a mocking frustration. "Every time, 'Good evening, Mama.' Is that what you will give me grandchildren? You have eaten all my son's wealth and refused to give him a child." Ifunanya clenched her jaw, forcing herself to stay composed. "Mama, I have done everything. I have seen doctors. They say there is nothing wrong with me." Mama Obinna scoffed. "Nothing wrong with you, and yet no pregnancy. You must think we are fools. Or do you think I don't know what you modern Lagos girls do? Drinking nonsense medicines to prevent pregnancy. Chasing career and enjoyment instead of fulfilling your duty as a wife." Ifunanya turned to her husband, hoping, begging for him to defend her. But as always, he just sighed, rubbing his temple as if the whole conversation was exhausting him. "Obinna," his mother continued, now addressing him directly, "how long will you allow this barren woman to disgrace our family? You are a man of wealth and power. You need heirs to inherit everything you have built. Or do you want strangers to enjoy your labor?" Obinna adjusted the gold watch on his wrist, looking at both of them as if this was beneath him. "Mama, please, not today." "Not today?" the old woman scoffed. "When? After you have wasted all your years with a woman who cannot carry a child?" Ifunanya felt her throat tighten. She had had this insult for years, but tonight, something inside her snapped. "Mama," she said, her voice quiet but firm, "I am not stopping myself from having children. Maybe you should ask your son why we don't have any." The room went silent. Mama Obinna's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" Obinna shot her a warning look, but Ifunanya was done being silent. "Ask your son," she repeated, her voice pounding. "Ask him." It was 2 weeks later when Ifunanya decided she needed answers. She went to one of the best fertility clinics in Lagos, determined to run every test possible. She had always suspected something was wrong, but she had never questioned it deeply. She sat in the doctor's office, her hands shaking slightly as she waited for the results. The doctor, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, looked at her with hesitation. "Mrs. Okafor," he said slowly, "your body is in perfect health." Relief flooded her until he continued. "But your womb," he hesitated again. "It's not there." Ifunanya blinked. "I don't understand." The doctor exhaled, It's not just that you cannot conceive. Your womb is completely absent. You must have undergone a procedure in the past or something. Ifunanya felt as though the ground had disappeared beneath her. No, she whispered. I have never had any surgery. The doctor frowned. That's impossible. A womb cannot just disappear. She sat there, frozen, trying to piece it together. Then, like a floodgate opening, memories rushed in. She remembered the time 3 months after her wedding, when she had fallen ill. She had fainted at home and woken up in a hospital bed. Obinna had told her it was food poisoning, that she needed emergency treatment. She had believed him. But what if it wasn't food poisoning? What if it was that day he took her womb? That night, she waited for Obinna to come home. When he finally walked in, she was sitting in the dimly lit sitting room, the hospital report in her hands. He barely looked at her. Why are you sitting in the dark? Obinna said, her voice dangerously calm. Where is my womb? He stopped. Slowly he turned to her, his face unreadable. What? I went to the hospital, she said. Standing up, they ran tests. They told me my womb is missing. She lifted the paper, her hands shaking. This says I can never carry a child, not because of any sickness, but because someone took it. Someone stole my womb. There was silence. Then Obinna chuckled, a low, chilling laugh. Ifunanya, he said, shaking his head. You are always too smart for your own good. Her stomach twisted. So it's true. Obinna sighed, walking over to the bar and pouring himself a drink. You're acting like I killed someone. I did what had to be done. She shot up from her seat. You sacrificed my womb? He sipped his drink. I needed power, Ifunanya. Do you think wealth like this just happens? That billions just fall from the sky? No, it requires sacrifice. Her hands trembled. And I was the sacrifice? He smirked. Not you. Just your ability to bear children. A small price to pay for the life you have now, don't you think? Rage exploded inside her. You let your mother insult me, humiliate me, all while knowing the truth? Obinna's face darkened. Watch your tone, Ifunanya. You have enjoyed luxury of that sacrifice. You should be grateful. Grateful? She grabbed the nearest glass and held it at him. He dodged it easily. I will never forgive you for this. Then leave, he said simply. But know this, if you walk out of that door, you leave with nothing. Not a single naira, not a single property. You will be nothing, Ifunanya, nothing. She stared at him, at the man she had loved, at the monster he had become. Then she turned and walked out. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew one thing. She would never look back. Months passed, and Ifunanya's life was no longer defined by what she had lost, but by what she was building. Her business flourished, attracting bigger clients. She moved out of Amaka's apartment, her friend who she stayed with after she left her husband's place. A modest but a comfortable 2-bedroom flat in Lekki. It wasn't the mansion she once lived in, but it was hers. She no longer avoided social events for fear of whisper. Instead, she walked into room with her head held high, knowing she was more than Obinna's ex-wife. Then one evening, she received a message that shook her. Obinna was in trouble. She ignored it. His life was no longer her concern. But the messages kept coming. Rumors spread that his business empire was collapsing. Contracts were being revoked. Government officials who was protecting him were now distancing themselves. There were even whispers of an investigation into his financial dealings. Then came the biggest shock. Mama Obinna called her. For the first time in years, The woman spoke to her with respect. "Ifunanya, my daughter," she said, her voice unusually soft. "Please talk to your husband. Help him." Ifunanya almost laughed. "You mean the same husband who left me with nothing?" Mama Obinna sighed. "He made mistakes, but you were once his wife. You can't just stand and watch him fail." Ifunanya's voice was cold. "He watched me fall, and you did nothing. Let him taste what it feels like." She ended the call. That night, she sat at the balcony sipping her tea as the cool breeze touched her skin. For years, she had cried over Obinna, and he did nothing. But now, she felt nothing for him. No anger, no pity, just peace. She had rebuilt herself, she had survived, and now she was free. Hey besties! We have come to the end of this very interesting story. Let me know your thoughts about the story in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the notification button so you will never miss on whenever I post a new story. Till I come your way next time. Bye.